Have you ever been hated by someone who never once asked your name? Officer Derek Marsh knocked the flowers from her hands. Petals scattered across the pavement. "Pick them up," he said. She only looked at him, calm as still water. "You giving me orders? I'm asking once. Move along. I don't take orders from a man hiding behind a badge." His jaw tightened. He grabbed her wrist, hard. Phones rose along the sidewalk. Nobody stepped in. And the woman stood steady, her pulse calm under his grip. The morning General Eleanor Hayes came back to Ashford Creek. The town had not changed in 20 years. Same water tower. Same diner with the flickering sign. Same narrow streets where everyone knew everyone, and strangers were noticed fast. She drove in slow, windows down, a rental car humming under her hands. She had flown in the night before, 2,000 miles from the base where she worked, and told no one she was coming. This was a private trip, a quiet one. Just her and a date on the calendar she never let pass. Today was the anniversary of her father's death. Walter Hayes had raised her in a small house on Cedar Lane. He had cleaned floors at the county courthouse for 30 years. He never raised his voice, never bowed his head, and he taught his daughter one rule above all others: stand tall, stay calm, let them underestimate you, and let the truth do the rest. She had carried that rule a long way. He had died while she was overseas, a phone pressed to her ear as his voice went thin. She had not made it home in time. She promised herself she would never miss this day again. Eleanor parked near the square and stepped out. A tailored cream coat, sharp low heels, a silk scarf at her throat. Not flashy, expensive in the way that does not announce itself. Shoulders square, spine straight, every step measured. On her left wrist sat a heavy steel watch, scratched and plain, the kind issued, not bought. Nobody in Ashford Creek knew what she had become. To them, she was still the janitor's quiet girl, if they remembered her at all. Across the square, leaning against a patrol car, a man watched her arrive. Officer Derek Marsh was built like a door, broad through the shoulders, thick in the neck. People in Ashford Creek knew that face. They crossed streets to avoid it. Marsh had worn the badge for 12 years. In that time, he had collected complaints the way other men collect parking tickets and watched every one of them disappear. His chief, Raymond Doyle, called him a good officer who got results. A folder of grievances sat in a basement, and nobody downtown dared open it. He prided himself on knowing who fit in Ashford Creek and who did not. The woman stepping out of the rental car did not fit his picture of anything. He pushed off the cruiser and started walking. Eleanor had not seen him yet. She was looking at the flower stand outside Turner's Market. White chrysanthemums sat near the front, her father's favorite. She crossed toward the buckets of color, and for a moment the morning felt soft, almost kind. A bell rang over a shop door. She reached for the flowers, and a shadow fell across the bucket before her fingers touched a single stem. "Hold up," a voice said behind her, low, pleased with itself. "You lost, sweetheart." Eleanor turned, calm as still water. She had heard 100 versions of that voice her whole life, in uniforms and boardrooms and gas stations. She had learned long ago exactly how to answer it. "I'm not lost," she said. "I'm buying flowers." "Flowers? You always dress like that to buy flowers? Is there a law against it?" He smiled, but it never reached his eyes. He circled her once, slow, the way a man sizes up something he already plans to break. "We've had break-ins on this block," he said. "People call when they see somebody who doesn't fit. I grew up 4 streets from here." "Sure you did. What's in the car?" "My coat, a map. Nothing that's yours to search. You being difficult, I'm being clear." He did not like clear. People who knew their rights made him feel small. "Where you headed, dressed like that? Some lawyer thing?" "A cemetery," she said. "If you'll let me." The word should have softened him. It didn't. It only made him reach for something crueler. A few people had stopped on the sidewalk. A woman with a stroller, 2 teenagers outside the market. They felt the shift in the air before they understood it. An old man outside the barber shop squinted at her, almost knowing that face. But 20 years is a long time. He shook his head and looked away, and would later wish he had spoken up. "I'd like to buy my flowers and go," Eleanor said, her voice level. "Are you detaining me?" The question landed wrong with Marsh. Ordinary people did not ask that. Ordinary people looked at their shoes and mumbled. "Don't get smart with me. It's a simple question, officer. I'll show my ID now." She reached unhurried into her coat. Marsh's hand dropped to his holster. "Slow, it's already slow." She drew a slim leather wallet and held out a license. He did not take it. He stared at her instead, at the cut of the coat, the steel watch, the way she met his eyes without blinking. Something about her would not bend, and that was the part he could not stand. A smarter man would have taken the license and let her go. Marsh was a proud one, and pride in him always burned hotter than sense. He keyed the radio on his shoulder. "Dispatch, uncooperative female refusing to ID. Possible suspect in the Lincoln Street break-ins." The lie went out over the air, clean and confident. There had been no description tying her to anything. He had invented a suspect and dressed her in it. He slapped the wallet out of her hand. It hit the pavement, the license skidding into the gutter. "Oops," he said. A teenager outside the market lifted his phone, then another. Then 4 more. Screens turned toward the square like sunflowers finding light. "Pick it up," Marsh said. "You knocked it down," Eleanor answered. "You pick it up." The crowd drew a breath. Nobody talked to him that way. What happened next happened fast. Marsh grabbed her arm and spun her toward the patrol car. Eleanor did not fight him. She let her body go where his force sent it. The way someone trained to survive a takedown knows not to resist a moving wall. But to the crowd, it looked exactly like what he wanted it to look like. A struggle. "Stop resisting," he shouted loud, performing for the phones. "I'm not resisting," she said, even and clear. "I am not resisting." He drove her chest down onto the hood. The metal was warm from the sun, her cheek pressed flat against it. He wrenched one arm up behind her back, then the other, and snapped the cuffs on hard enough to bite. She had been in worse holds than this. So she did what her father taught her years ago on the porch of the house on Cedar Lane. She stayed calm. She let them underestimate her, and she waited for the truth to do the rest. It always did. "You're hurting my wrists," she said. "No panic, just fact. Should have thought of that." He leaned a knee into her spine, all 240 pounds of him, pinning her against the car. She did not bolt. She breathed in slow, counting the ways she had been taught in a place this man could not imagine. "You're going to hurt her," a woman shouted, her own phone up now. "Ma'am, I will arrest you too," Marsh said, not even looking. That shut most of them up. Not the phones. The white chrysanthemums lay crushed under the front tire. A boy of maybe 17 edged to the front, filming, his hands shaking but holding the frame. He caught all of it. The knee, the cuffs, the woman's calm face against the hood. Marsh picked the wallet up off the gutter, glanced at the license, and did not read it. He shoved it into his pocket. Then he reached up to the small black camera clipped to his chest and with 2 fingers switched it off. A tiny light blinked from red to dark. He thought no one saw. The boy with the phone saw. "People like you," Marsh muttered, close to her ear, "always think you're better than this town." Eleanor said nothing. She turned her head, found the boy's phone, and looked straight into the camera, calm, memorizing everything. A second cruiser rolled up. A younger officer climbed out, Casey Reed, 2 years on the job. She stopped short at the scene. A cuffed woman, 40 phones, a crowd that hated what it was watching. "Derek," she said carefully. "What do we have?" "Resisting. Failure to ID. I've got it." He hauled Eleanor upright and marched her toward the cruiser. Her scarf had come loose. She did not look broken. She looked like someone filing every detail away. By the time Marsh pulled from the curb, the first clip had a caption and 400 views. By the time he reached the station, it had 40,000. The Ashford Creek police station smelled of burnt coffee and floor wax. They walked her in through the back, cuffs still on, coat still smeared with grime from the hood. Marsh kept one hand on her shoulder, steering, though she went where he pointed without a fight. Behind the front desk, a dispatcher glanced up, then looked quickly back down. He sat her on a metal bench bolted to the wall and started building his story. He typed it at his desk, 2 fingers glancing at her now and then like she was a problem he had already solved. Resisting arrest, failure to identify, assault on an officer. Each line went into the system clean and official, and each line was a lie. There had been no assault. There had been a woman reaching for flowers. "You can make this easier," he said, not looking up. "Sign here. Take the charges and maybe the judge goes light." "I'm not signing anything," Eleanor said. "Suit yourself. I'd like a phone call. You'll get one when I say." She let that sit. She had been in rooms colder than this one. She had sat across tables from men with far more power than Derek Marsh. She had learned that the fastest way to lose is to raise your voice first, so she kept hers low. "You're going to want to check my ID before you file that report," she said. He laughed, short and ugly. "Is that a threat?" "It's advice. I don't take advice from people in cuffs." He pulled a form from a drawer and slid it across the desk. "Last chance to cooperate." "I've cooperated since the first word out of your mouth," Eleanor said. "You just weren't listening." "Cute. Every second you spend on that keyboard, officer, is a second you'll wish you had back." He stopped typing. For half a breath, a quiet alarm flickered again. Then he buried it the way he buried everything. "Threaten me again," he said, "and I'll add a charge." She didn't need to. Outside the station, the morning was already getting away from him. The boy's video had a title now. Someone had clipped the worst 10 seconds, the knee on her spine, her calm voice saying, "I am not resisting." It jumped from one phone to 100, from 100 to thousands. A caption ran with it. "Cop cuffs woman for buying flowers." Comments stacked up by the second. "Who is she? Find that officer's name. Someone do something." None of that noise had reached the basement yet. Inside, Casey Reed stood near the evidence counter with a clear plastic bag in her hand. It held the woman's things, a phone, a set of car keys, and the slim leather wallet Marsh had shoved in his pocket, then dropped on the counter without a second look. Already bored of it, Reed was not bored. Something about the woman on the bench had stayed with her. The stillness, the way she watched the room like she was reading it. Reed had met scared people, and she had met guilty people. This woman was neither. She unsealed the bag, telling herself she was just logging the property the way procedure required. She opened the wallet. The driver's license sat in the front slot, the one Marsh never read. Reed read it, then read it again, slower, because the name had started a small alarm ringing at the back of her skull. Behind the license was a second card, stiffer. Official, the kind that did not come from any DMV. Reed tilted it toward the light. Her stomach dropped. She looked up across the room to the woman in the ruined cream coat. The woman was already looking at her. "You found it," Eleanor said quietly. "Now think very carefully about what you do next." Reed's mouth had gone dry. 4 small stars were printed across the card beside a rank she had only ever seen in news footage. She reached for the radio on her shoulder, and her hand was not quite steady. Then she stopped. This was not a radio call. This was not the kind of thing you put out over an open channel for the whole county to hear. She lowered her hand, closed the wallet around the card, and walked it across the room to Marsh's desk. "Derek," she said, her voice careful. "You need to look at this. I'm busy. Look at it now." Something in her tone made him glance up. Reed did not talk to him like that. He took the wallet from her with an irritated snatch, ready to be unimpressed. He flipped it open, read the license this time. The name meant nothing to him. Men like Marsh never learned the names of the people they stepped on. Then Reed slid the second card forward with one finger. Marsh went still. The card was matte, edged in a way no ordinary ID was edged. It carried a photograph of the woman on the bench, younger, in dress uniform. It carried a seal, and across the top, 4 silver stars in a clean, unmistakable row, General Eleanor Hayes, United States Army. 4 stars, the highest active rank a soldier could wear. There were only a handful of them in the entire country. One of them was sitting on his bench in cuffs. Her coat smeared with grime because he had ground her face into the hood of a car. The blood left his face slowly, like water draining from a basin. All the small things he had ignored came rushing back at once. The steel watch, scratched and plain, the squared shoulders. The way she had let her body move with his takedown instead of fighting it, like someone trained by people who did this for a living. She had told him, "You're going to want to check my ID." He had laughed. He was not laughing now. A younger officer by the coffee machine set his cup down without a sound. The dispatcher would not meet anyone's eyes. He had handcuffed a 4-star general on a public sidewalk in front of 40 cameras and told the radio she was a burglar. There was no version of this morning he walked away from clean. The phone on the front desk rang. The dispatcher answered it the way she answered every call, then sat up straight. "Yes, sir." Twice. She covered the mouthpiece, her voice thin. "It's the Department of the Army. They're asking if we have a General Hayes in custody. Her detail lost contact with her this morning." The room went quiet, the real kind, where everyone suddenly hears the hum of the lights and their own heartbeat. On the bench, Eleanor rose to her feet. She did it without drama, without a single fast movement, and yet the whole room turned toward her like iron toward a magnet. The cuffs were still on her wrists. The coat was still ruined. None of it mattered. "My name is General Eleanor Hayes," she said. Her voice had changed, not louder. Simply the voice of someone who had commanded thousands and expected to be heard the first time. "I served in the United States Army. This morning, I came home to put flowers on my father's grave. I was stopped without cause. I was assaulted. I was cuffed and charged with crimes I did not commit, and the body camera that would have shown the truth was switched off on purpose." Her eyes found Marsh and held him there. "Take these off," she said, lifting her wrists. "And nobody touch anything on that desk. Every report, every log, every recording. It is now evidence." For a moment, Marsh did not move. His whole career had been built on being the biggest man in any room. That room had just been taken from him by a woman he could have let walk 20 minutes ago. It was Reed who crossed to her, hands still unsteady, and unlocked the cuffs. They came off with a soft double click. Eleanor lowered her wrists and rubbed them once, slow. The red lines where the metal had bitten were plain for every phone in the building to see. "Thank you, Officer Reed," Eleanor said quietly. The dispatcher held up the phone, trembling. "General, they want to speak with you." Eleanor crossed the room and took the receiver. "I'm unharmed. I'm secure. Hold the response. I'll handle this in person, by the book." She set the phone back in its cradle. Outside, the story had already outgrown the town. A national network had pulled the clip. A caption ran beneath a frozen frame. "Decorated General detained in hometown." Reporters were calling the mayor's office. A small crowd had gathered on the square, where the flowers still lay crushed. Down the hall, the blinds in Chief Raymond Doyle's office shifted. He had heard the silence spread through his station like cold water. He picked up his own phone, then put it back down. For the first time in years, there was no one above him he could call to make a problem go away. "Now," Eleanor said, walking to the center of the station, cuffs gone, head level. "We do this by the book, all of it. From the very first second on that sidewalk." Behind that closed office door sat a man who had spent years making folders disappear. He was about to learn that this one would not. It did not stay behind that door for long. By early afternoon, 2 dark sedans pulled into the Ashford Creek station lot. The woman who stepped out of the first one had not come to ask permission. Her name was Agent Renee Foster, a senior investigator with the federal office that reviews civil rights violations by police. She had seen the same clip the rest of the country had seen on a screen 400 miles away before she ever boarded a plane. She came through the front doors with a badge in one hand and a list in the other. "I want every report filed today," she said. "Every body camera in this building, worn or not, the dispatch logs, the booking record, the duty roster. And I want the officer who made this arrest in a room alone in 10 minutes. Nobody argued. The chief had stopped pretending he ran the building an hour ago. Foster found Eleanor in a side office, coat still ruined, a cup of untouched water in front of her. The 2 women looked at each other for a long moment. One wore a federal suit. One was a general in plain clothes, both used to walking into rooms that went quiet. "General," Foster said, "you could press this a dozen ways. Some of them would end his career by tonight. Tell me how you want to play it." Eleanor thought about it. "By the book," she said. "I don't want a fast answer. I want a true one. If you cut a corner to help me, this town learns the wrong lesson, and the next person cuffed on that sidewalk won't have stars in their wallet." Foster studied her, then nodded once. It was the answer she had hoped for. The investigation started with the cameras. Marsh's body camera told a strange story. It recorded the walk-up, it recorded the first words. Then, at the exact moment the encounter turned violent, it went dark. The timestamp of the shutoff sat right there in the metadata, clean and damning. A camera does not turn itself off in the middle of an arrest. Someone reaches up and does it. He'll say it malfunctioned, Foster said. Then we'll show him the part where it didn't, Eleanor answered, because the boy with the phone had caught it. His video, already on its way to 10 million views, showed Marsh's hand rise to his chest. It showed the two fingers. It showed the small light blink from red to dark, in focus, unmistakable. Set the two recordings side by side, and the body camera's silence stopped looking like a glitch. It looked like a choice. That was one lie proven. They moved to the report next. Marsh had written that the suspect assaulted him, that she resisted, that she refused to identify herself. Foster laid the document on the table beside 3 separate witness videos. In none of them did Eleanor raise a hand. In none of them did she pull away. In 2 of them, her voice could be heard clearly, saying the same 4 words over and over. I am not resisting. The report and the footage could not both be true. The footage did not blink. 2 lies, Foster said and made a note. She put Marsh in the small interview room at the back and sat across from him with a recorder running. Walk me through the camera, she said. It malfunctioned. It malfunctioned at the exact second you put your knee on her back. Equipment fails. Your hand is on camera switching it off, officer. A boy filmed it. 10 million people have watched your hand do it. Marsh's jaw worked. I want my union reap. You'll get one. It won't change what the timestamp says. She slid a still frame across the table, his 2 fingers frozen on the camera. This is not a malfunction. This is a man hiding what he was about to do. He did not answer. The silence was its own kind of confession. Then she pulled the file that nobody in Ashford Creek had wanted to open. It came up from the basement, thick and soft-cornered from age, with Derek Marsh's name on the tab. Inside were years of complaints. A man pulled over 4 times in 1 month. A teenager slammed against a fence for jaywalking. A grandmother cuffed in her own driveway. Different faces, different streets, one pattern. And clipped to nearly every complaint was the same closing memo, signed by the same hand. No further action. Raymond Doyle, the pattern had a name now, and it was not just Marsh's. Foster walked the file down the hall to the chief's office. Doyle was a heavy-set man with a politician's smile and a desk full of golf trophies. He had run this department for 15 years. He had buried every one of those complaints the way a gardener buries roots deep where no one thinks to look. He tried the smile when Foster came in. It did not survive contact with the folder she dropped on his desk. You signed 40 of these, she said. 40 times you saw what he was, and 40 times you wrote 2 words and made it disappear. I made judgment calls. You made a career out of one officer's record. You built it on the backs of people who had no stars in their wallet to save them. Doyle's smile was gone for good. By the next morning, the consequences had started to move on their own. The mayor, who had spent a decade praising the department at ribbon cuttings, called a press conference. He announced that Marsh was suspended without pay and that Doyle was on administrative leave, pending review. He used words like accountability and transparency, words the town had not heard from that podium before. Reporters asked who had forced the change. He did not say a general. He did not have to. Everyone with a phone already knew. Down in the bullpen, Marsh tried a different defense. He told the younger officers it was a misunderstanding, that she had been aggressive, that the cameras did not show the whole story. A week ago, they would have nodded. Today, they had all seen the same video the world had seen. Today, when he spoke, they looked at their desks. Casey Reed looked right at him. You turned your camera off, Derek, she said. We all watched you do it. He had nothing for that. For the first time, the biggest man in the room had no room. Before she left that night, Eleanor stopped at the door of the interview room. Marsh looked up. For a moment, the two of them simply regarded each other. He had decided who she was in 3 seconds. He had been wrong about her in every possible way. You told me not to talk back, she said. Do you remember that? He said nothing. I command soldiers who would walk through fire on my word. And this morning you put your knee on my spine and called me a liar on your own radio. You never once asked my name." She did not raise her voice. She did not have to. "That was always your mistake. Not today. Your whole life." She turned and left him with it. But the part that changed everything was not the file or the cameras or the chief. It was the people who started showing up. Word had spread that someone was finally listening. By the second day, they came to the station and to the reporters camped outside it. One after another, they told stories they had carried alone for years. The man pulled over 4 times. The teenager. A grandmother brought a photograph of her bruised wrists, taken years before and shown to no one, because back then no one would have cared. "I filed a complaint," she said on camera, her voice shaking. "They told me it was handled. Nothing was handled. I thought it was only me." It had never been only her. A delivery driver had been made to kneel on the curb for 20 minutes over a broken taillight. A nurse heading home from a night shift was searched because her car was too nice for the neighborhood. A father was pulled from his truck in front of his own children. Each story sounded like the others. Each one had ended the same way, with a complaint that vanished and a person who learned to stop complaining. 40 folders had names. The names had been waiting a long time to be read out loud. Eleanor sat in on those conversations. She did not perform. She did not make speeches for the cameras. She listened the way her father taught her to listen. When the grandmother finished, Eleanor reached across the table and held the woman's hands, the same wrists 20 years apart, that a badge had decided did not matter. "It wasn't only you," Eleanor said quietly, "and it won't be buried this time. You have my word." That was the turn. Not the rank, not the phone call from the army. It was a room full of people who had been told for years that they were imagining the thing that happened to all of them. Now they heard someone with power say it out loud. "I believe you. Foster built the case the way you build a wall, one verified brick at a time. The shut-off timestamp, the witness clips, the false report, the buried complaints, the signatures, the pattern that ran from a sidewalk all the way up to a chief's desk. By the end of the week, she had a file of her own, and this one was not going into any basement. Foster's file did not stop in Ashford Creek. It went up the chain to a state prosecutor and a federal review board, both of whom had already watched the video the public had watched. Charges were drawn against Marsh: assault under color of law, falsifying a police report, tampering with recorded evidence. Doyle faced his own list for the years of cover-up that had let it all continue. The 2 words he had written so many times, "no further action," would now be read back to him in a courtroom. Foster found Eleanor in the side office on the last evening, packing the ruined coat into a bag. "It's enough," Foster said. "For him, for Doyle, for all of it." Eleanor nodded slowly. She did not look triumphant. She looked tired and clear, like someone who had carried a heavy thing a long way and was finally setting it down in the right place. "Then we finish it right," she said. "In the open, where the next person can see that it worked." Outside, the crowd had not gone home. They stood near a spot on the warm asphalt where someone had laid fresh white chrysanthemums in place of the ones that had been crushed. They did not know yet how it would end, but for the first time in a long time, the town had the feeling that this time it might end the way it should. It ended the way it should, but it took a season to get there. The hearing came in the fall. Cameras lined the courthouse steps. The man pulled over 4 times. The nurse, the grandmother with the photograph, all of them in one room, finally counted it. Derek Marsh sat at the defense table in a suit instead of a uniform. The badge was gone, stripped of it. He looked smaller than 240 pounds, like a man who had spent his power on the wrong morning and could not get it back. The evidence went in one piece at a time, the way Foster had built it. The boy's video, the dead body camera, the false report read aloud, line by line, each lie set beside the footage that broke it. When the clip played, the calm voice saying, "I am not resisting," the courtroom went still. The judge did not raise her voice either. Marsh was convicted of assault under color of law, of falsifying a report, and of tampering with evidence. He would never wear a badge again in this state or any other. When the judge read the sentence, Marsh did not erupt. He simply lowered his head. The way the people he had stopped used to lower theirs. For one moment he understood exactly how the sidewalk had felt. Then the bailiff led him out a side door, in handcuffs of his own. Raymond Doyle's reckoning was quieter, and in its way larger. He resigned before they could remove him, but the years of buried complaints became their own case. The department was placed under federal oversight, every policy rewritten in the open. Body cameras that could not be switched off, an independent board to hear complaints, one with no basement to lose them in. The two words he had loved, no further action, were retired for good. Casey Reed kept her job. The young officer who had unlocked the cuffs with shaking hands was held up quietly as the example. The new board asked her to help train the next class of recruits. She said yes. The old complaints were reopened. The grandmother got a letter that said what happened to her was wrong and that the record now reflected it. It was 20 years late. She read it on her porch and cried anyway, because late is not the same as never. Eleanor stood at the back of the courtroom for the verdict. She had given her account plainly and stepped down. Afterward, she walked out through the same courthouse doors her father had cleaned for 30 years, doors he had kept shining without ever once being thanked. She thought he would have liked that, not the cameras. The fact that the building he had quietly cared for had finally been made to care back. A reporter caught her on the steps and asked if she felt vindicated. Eleanor considered the word. "This was never about me," she said. "I had stars in my wallet. The people in that courtroom didn't, and the law worked for them anyway. That's the only thing worth being proud of." She did not mention the words he had thrown at her on the sidewalk. "Don't talk back." She did not need to answer them with a speech. The whole season had answered them for her. Then she stepped down off the courthouse stairs, into a town that finally knew her name, and went to find a flower stand. Turner's Market was open again. Eleanor bought white chrysanthemums, the same kind crushed under a patrol tire months before. The owner would not take her money. She set the bills on the counter anyway and told him to give the next bunch to someone who needed them. She drove out to the cemetery on the edge of town. The stone stood under a maple that had grown tall since she last stood there. Walter Hayes, a good man who cleaned floors and raised a daughter who would command armies. She knelt and laid the flowers down, and for a while said nothing at all. "I made it home," she finally said. "I'm sorry it took so long." The wind moved the maple. It was answer enough. She thought about the rule he gave her on a porch on Cedar Lane all those years ago. Stand tall, stay calm, let them underestimate you, and let the truth do the rest. He had meant it as a way to survive. She had used it, in the end, as a way to change something. Back in town, the work went on without her name attached to it. Casey Reed stood in front of a room of recruits and told them about a morning she would never forget, and the cost of looking away. None of them had stars in their wallets. That was the point. The system was learning, slowly, to work for the people who didn't. Months later, a new officer stopped a stranger downtown. He asked her name first. He listened. It sounds small. In Ashford Creek, it was everything.